All right, everyone. Did you know Eminem's in big trouble? He dropped a surprise album called Kamikaze. And he used a slur for gay people. He's never done this before. He was such a polite boy. He never swore. He never said anything sexist against, like, women. He never said anything homophobic. He never used the N-word. He never talked about throwing a grenade at George W. Bush. He never talked about drowning his ex-wife. Yeah, okay, that Eminem. Let me know how that works out for you. You can harp and whine at him for a million years. The dude has hundreds of millions of dollars, is one of the best-selling musical artists of all time. I don't think he cares what you think about him. The last time he gave a fuck about anything was literally when he insulted Trump and Trump didn't deign to respond, and he was sitting there flabbergasted at this fact, which, by the way, Trump knows when you respond to something like that, you've already lost. Therein lies the whole thing. Trump does this to his enemies all the time. He antagonizes them into responding. Therefore, because they're launching off into emotional wonderland, he always wins because he knows exactly how to deal with their response. He'll make them look unhinged. He'll make them look stupid, basically. Eminem didn't quite learn that, but if you think that he gives a fuck, if you say, well, we condemn him for using this particular word, he's been using that word since the 1990s. He doesn't care. It's very funny to see Eminem in the news again for offending people. Because for a while there, he lost his edge. He wasn't offending anybody. He really wasn't. He was just going for the same low-hanging fruit that the establishment was going for. I remember the Eminem of like, oh, you know, the Eminem show era, saying these things talking about, well, you know, fuck Bush, fuck my ex-wife, fuck women, fuck everybody, basically. You know, the whole world sucks. And it offended a lot of people. I can remember when everyone wanted, you know, to buy the next CD from Eminem or whatever. And it was very funny because, you know, everyone's parents were very upset. They had, like, you know, people in Congress and, like, the, you know, Mothers Against Everything were fucking talking about, oh, we need to censor this more. This shouldn't be allowed. Oh, my God, rap is indoctrinating our children. And all that moralistic, you know, social panic bullshit. It was a Eminem literally single-handedly started a miniaturized social panic simply because of his musical lyrics. And it was very funny. Now, I'm not a rap fan. I'm not particularly an Eminem fan, but at the time, yeah, I enjoyed some of the music, especially as you had the perfect storm because it was on the radio, you know, of course, with the swear words blanked out. So it was on the radio offending everybody. It was like hit after hit after hit, but at the same time, it was this edgy material that derided George W. and derided the war and everything else, and derided, you know, basically pearl clutchers in essence. You know, you listen to some of the lyrics, I think it was, what the fuck was the song? It's Square Dance or something, and he's talking about there's nothing scarier than a house that allows no swearing. Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah. I think on that one, that was a little bit of sage wisdom there. Here's the thing, though. Do you honestly think that, you know, Eminem's going to come and say, well, yeah, I apologize to everyone. I'm sorry I offended you, says Eminem. If he does that, his career's over. So it'd be, like, really funny either way. It'd be like, hey, destroy his career. Or you can basically come out, if I was him, I would come out, double down and say, look, fuck yourself. I'm going to say what I want. Make your own music. Go listen to, you know, the Partridge Family song or something. Go listen to the soundtrack for Andy Griffith if you care about being offended. It's like that stuff, oddly enough, would offend the leftists more. But it's very funny to see the offense coming from the left. The pink-haired crowd is outraged at this particular musical lyric that I can't say on YouTube because, you know, you get a strike for that for my hate speech or whatever. The left is angry at him. The right wing's like looking at this like, yeah, it's Eminem being Eminem. He's been doing this for a long time. We were outraged back in the Bush administration. Now we don't give a fuck anymore. I see a more and more irreverent right wing, actually. Or I should say non-left. You've got to use more broad terms. The left, specifically the core neoliberals and their neoconservative offspring, are easily morally outraged. And elements of the social justice warrior movement, certainly, even more so. They're outraged at everything. If you give in a little bit, they'll move the goalposts further and remain outraged. It's like if they ever go after you, they're like, well, you're a bigot or something. Never back down and apologize. Because if you do, you know, it's an illegitimate claim. They're simply working themselves up into a rage like small children tend to do. That's their mentality. if you give in and say, okay, well, yeah, I'm sorry I was bigoted in saying X, Y, and Z, they'll find something else to nitpick about. And they're not going to actually accept the apology. It's an exercise in attempting to exact dominance over other people. They want other people to have to be miserable like them. It used to be, in some eras, it's right-wing movements, so-called, doing this. The religious right specifically, and the warmongering right, and the so-called, under Bush, hated Eminem at the time, back in the early 2000s. They absolutely hated him. They thought he was degenerating culture. He's going to degrade everything. He's against Bush. Oh my God, think of our troops. Think of the children that died on 9/11. We must go to war, and anyone who criticizes it is a commie. And so they'd basically, run him down and insult him and stuff. And it wasn't just Eminem, but he was public enemy #1 there for a number of years. Kind of like the Dixie Chicks. Yeah, they're a lot like Eminem stylistically and lyrically now, aren't they? But have you heard any of their songs lately? No, it's because their career got completely fucking destroyed for being against the Iraq War. That's what it's ultimately about. But now, it's not the religious, right? It's not the evangelo-cons even now. They're a dying breed. Like the Pat Robertsons are so old and fucked up, they almost don't exist anymore. I used to be afraid that they would have power and they would start oppressing maybe religious minorities or something. Not so much anymore. They don't have any power, politically speaking. The Trump populists have totally reabsorbed them, converted a lot of them away from being evangelo-cons. Basically, Mike Pence is leading a dying movement at this point. He's the figurehead of the evangelo-cons, kind of. He is an evangelical, by the way. I think he is genuinely religious. I think Trump doesn't have a religious bone in his body. Any belief in a God that he has is not paired with a belief in organized religion. He's too smart for that. But now it's the left that's offended Eminem. Can you not see that we've come full circle and the nouveau left, the social justice warriors, are literally the fucking same as the scumbags we had to wade through knee deep back during the Bush administration? They no longer care. They never protest anymore. They love censorship. They're even readapting religiosity to their perverted view of the world. And now this. Now they're totally the moralists, the musical moralists, the comedy moralists, just like the Bushites were. They are the same scumbags for a different era. The social justice warriors of today do not have genuine political beliefs. When you call them a progressive, you do the world a disservice. It's not about they're liberal, they're left-wing, they like Marx or anything. They are simply latching on to totalitarian ideologies and seeking to perpetuate them because they are the same fucking scumbags that existed 20 years ago. It is the same shit, different asshole. They don't have genuine beliefs. So why do you think that the social justice pink-haired bullshitters emerge out of fucking nowhere in such a short span of time? It's because they weren't social. They're simply readapting the same failed ideology of the Bushites, the evangelicons. You go back further, you find other authoritarian movements in U.S. history throughout time. And it's always prefaced on a moral panic. They're corporate pawns. They don't even believe. They don't care about the poor. They don't care about minorities. They just want to harangue. They want to harangue and they want to get off on trying to project power because they're weak. Essentially, they're a bunch of fucking cowards. They're weaklings. They're weak-wristed little pansies. And so they seek to do this. They want Eminem to have to apologize to them. They're saying the same things he's been saying for fucking 25, 30 years. Oh, they desperately want him to do that, but he's not going to if he's smart. If he does, his career's over. He'll never release another album to any great applause. By the way, I haven't heard any of the songs in this one. Maybe it's good. For a while there, he was back in his heyday there with a rap god. I think that was a #1 hit. An excellent music video, by the way. I will give him that. I'm not a fan of rap music. I prefer Immortal Technique is more... maybe has more credibility at this point. But no, it is funny to see him offend a new generation. We're right back at the late 90s, early 2000s. It's the same thing. We're replicating time. And again, if you know the past, you can tell the future. This moral panic will dry up and disappear. Today's haranguing bullshitters will eventually calm down, and the paradigm fully flips, and the social panic is over, and then the authoritarian mob moves on to something else. Always has happened, always will happen. Right now, I guess Eminem is, somehow he has managed to take part in 2 different separate eras of moral panic. Congratulations to him. Very few people will successfully do so. You make a lot of money, by the way, if you just keep offending people. Make really edgy music that offends the liberals. You might get blackballed by the entertainment industry. It doesn't matter. We're in the YouTube era, so just fucking self-publish everything. Sort of like what you have to do with books now. That's about all. Peace out.